and welcome to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. I'm Ellie Wang, your guide to unlocking the secrets of vibrant health and balanced hormones. Together, we'll explore empowering strategies, holistic healing modalities, expert insights, and client stories to help you reclaim your vitality and live in harmony with your body. Whether you're navigating the journey of motherhood, seeking natural solutions, or striving for optimal well-being and wanting to live a long and healthy life, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this transformative journey to health, healing, and happiness, one mindful step at a time. Ready? Let's dive in. Hello, welcome to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. Today, I am super excited to have Maria Van Vukles with us today. Maria is a leading mindset coach and mentor who specializes in empowering women to achieve success and integrating the approach of mindset mastery, psychology, and practical strategies. Maria helps her clients align with their personal values as well as creating a pathway to authentic and enduring growth. She focuses on addressing the core challenges facing women, which includes overcoming self-doubt, enhancing decision-making, and also for personal well-being. She helps by fostering resilience, self-awareness, and a strong sense of purpose. And she also helps her clients by navigating the complexities with clarity and confidence in their lives. She has a deep commitment to helping women thrive, and she's a trusted guide for those seeking balance, both professionally as well as with personal happiness and transforming their success in defined and pursued manner. So welcome, Maria. You've got a whole list of qualifications. It's as long as like an A4 sheet, but welcome to the show and tell us a little bit more about yourself if I haven't touched on what we've covered in your intro.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. Thanks for having me, and it's great to be here. Long list of qualifications. I guess, life is about constant learning, so yeah. I'm sure you've got a long list of qualifications as well. Just a bit about me. I've got a background in naturopathy, so I was a naturopath for about 10 years. I had my own clinics. I've seen a whole range of different people. One of those common themes has been, hormone regulation and how hormones definitely affect not only, weight loss, which were some of my clients, but also those in the professional arena in corporate, how hormones affect those sort of individuals. And so I'm also an NLP trainer, so I help people certified and qualified to use those modalities not only on themselves but others as well. I coach others one-on-one, a vast areas, but specifically in business I see people, so more professional individuals. And Ellie was one of my students, so it's great to see her again. That's led me to here, and now I'm currently in the process of studying a psychology degree and on to the next step.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'll definitely ask some questions around psychology. So for those that don't understand or have heard of the what NLP is, can you describe what NLP is and basically how you see that relating to a lot of the mindset and emotional well-being of many of the women in this day and age?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we think of NLP as three different sectors or parts to that. So neuro, first part is the nervous system or neurology of the individual, and the integrity of that neurology. And then we have language, which is the language that we use that actually programs our mind, and those behaviors get stored in our neurology. And the programming is the last part of that, is how we actually create our reality, how we move forward, and what behaviors do we do in order to produce those, the language encoded within our neurology. And the programming that we do on ourselves is an easier way to think about this is the habits that we form and the patterns that we do on a day-to-day basis. And it opens up this emotional state, and it can be either elevating, it can also be disempowering. So depending on how we code ourselves, it impacts the intention of our actions and how we create coherence between our thoughts and feelings.
So I see that a lot of clients coming in, I'm sure you've seen this in your line of work as well. Like so much of our mindset is just impacting the results that we're getting, whether it is hormonal or, they've got chronic illness. Why is it that so many people have I guess you could say, wrong mindset or not an empowering mindset? What has led to them sort of going down that trajectory? And they find it really hard to get themselves out of those sort of negative thought patterns.
Yeah, sure. I think there's no right or wrong in terms of programming, because our programming mainly happens between the ages of 0 to 7. So it really depends on family values, environment, culture. Your schooling as well can definitely have an impact on this and can also shape us as adults, and therefore how we perceive our world as an adult. And in the fertility journey, there's a lot of negative that can happen that in being able to move forward with them. Simple things like happened as a child or as a young teenager or even as a young adult. It may also be how they perceive themselves and see themselves. And what happens is these programming creates the box, and also the stress that can be associated in other areas of our environment can also prevent any sort of thought action moving forward in someone's fertility journey, let's say.
And so, how would you say there are some common misconceptions about how their mindset is actually playing a role in their health? Because a lot of people may not think that their mindset or their thoughts are actually contributing to poor health outcomes or chronic illness or not the results that they want. There are some people that are very healthy, and there are those who haven't got the right mindset or, a positive mindset. And that has been possibly, driving a lot of the factors in repeated health outcomes. So what would you say are some of the misconceptions that you see in terms of their mindset and how that's contributing to health?
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of people tell other people that just think positive and it'll change how you perceive things and it'll change your outcome. However, that's quite a surface kind of way of looking at things, because the wiring within our neurology and our thinking is deep rooted, and what we think and how we behave has to match what our desired outcome is. So we're saying to ourselves, be positive. Behind the door, we're shaming ourselves. It doesn't match the behaviors in order to create that outcome that a person might want. The other thing is I've found in my experience that these individuals believe their body is separate to their mind. So they think they're physically healthy and they're doing things, but what is the, as I say, the laundry or the junk in the trunk that's happening in the mind that's connecting the two? So they see their body as separate to their mind, when in fact the body follows the mind. And that's the truth. It creates biochemical signals and changes and shapes our physiology by how well our mind is functioning in order to direct the body moving forward. The other one would have to be trying to force the outcome without fully surrendering to the process. So I refer to this as fixating or creating a negative attachment, where there's like a sense of desperation for things to happen rather than just allowing the process to happen. And I'm sure in your experience, Ellie, you've noticed that people with fertility, they've been on a massive fertility journey with IVF, and then all of a sudden, for example, they go on a holiday and they're relaxed, stress-free, and they come back pregnant. So
why is it that they're so fixated? I mean, I don't know. Why would you say that they're so fixated? And it's so hard. I mean, these couples, and especially the women, they want the baby so much, and it's like the more they do, it's like almost the harder it is, or they find they're struggling even more to get the outcome, but they so want it so bad, it's all they're fixated on. They think about it 24/7 and it's impacting them so much. I can't sleep at night, so how is all of that affecting based on, you said it's coming in from also a lot of the maybe what they've had in their childhood and a lot of the patterning and the programming. So yeah, what can they do basically without fixating on it to get sort of a shift in their beliefs and to help drive, their outcome?
Yeah, so to be able to stop fixating on an outcome is to simply just make a decision and stop and just allow and surrender to the process. Because fixations tend to be driven by some sort of negative underlying belief or beliefs that, or values per se, is that have a negative attachment to them that drive them. And what happens is that repels the outcome and makes the fixation even stronger. And at times I've seen how this can become quite addictive for most individuals. And it actually does more harm than good on their physical body, because their body is trying to go through a process of creation and generation, and the mind is simply repelling that because it's telling it to go into survival mode. And it's another form of putting the body under stress. So it expels and it does everything to maintain survival mode. A way to be able to move past that is simply to become aware of your own beliefs, what you're saying to yourself associated with that outcome, and are there any sort of negative connotations or are driving that. So think about more empowering beliefs that promote more proactive, healthy behaviors in an individual, rather than being in that survival mode.
And it's so hard because these women are they're so fixated. As much as you tell them not to think about it or to think of something, it's all that they can think about a lot of the time. So how would you describe like their unconscious beliefs and patterns are really challenging and playing a role in not just fertility, but in general health challenges for their hormones, whether it's a lot of the pain or endometriosis and stress that they're going through month after month?
Yeah, sure. First thing is identifying that the body follows the mind, and the unconscious mind is the programs run 90% of reality. And these old patterns can keep someone stuck in these cycles of imbalance. So I think that would be the first point in becoming aware of that and knowing how the mind works, and then also what are the negative patterns that this individual might be experiencing. And these common ones such as self-sabotaging behaviors such as fear, just a resistance to change because it's so unknown moving forward that there's a negative resistance to moving forward and becoming a parent, or even simply a changing of identity or the expectation of what might happen in the family unit, unsure about that. So a whole uncertainty creates this fear and resistance, and any sort of like shame that may be associated from childhood traumas can also rise up as well. So we want to identify and reprogram these patterns to help unlock the body's natural healing potential.
So what are some things that they could do to have that awareness, and what could they do to unlock some of these deeper beliefs so that they can, move forward from things that might be holding them back?
Yeah, sure. One thing I get my clients to do, and I tell everybody to do, is simply just keep a journal.
Yeah.
Keep a journal every day and spend some time with yourself for, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day, and build on that. And then just offload, unpack what's happening in your mind. And you want to shift from good enough, because it could be a belief, to I'm capable of creating life, or whatever that might be. So whatever the belief you're saying to yourself, talk is thinking about the most empowering belief, because the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. So if you believe it hard enough with volition that I am capable of creating life, the body follows and creates a mindful transformation within the body. And we also want to shift any sort of guilt to gratitude. So gratitude practices are a really great way to be able to improve one's own self-care and reduce stress that we go through, probably on a daily basis. And the IVF journey can be quite a stressful process, not only for one parent, but I think for the parent unit itself. Yeah. So even doing these practices together creates a prolific effect within the home environment.
That's so important, because a lot of the men take a back seat and they just let the woman make all the decision, but they've also got feelings and they may want a baby as much, but they might not know how to communicate, well, not as well generally as the women do so. But they've also got a lot of these beliefs and unconscious thoughts happening at the back of their minds as well. So yeah, that's a really good tip. How would you say that, obviously with shifting that mindset, can that have then a profound effect on their health? And like you mentioned, on the negative emotions, such as especially guilt and shame, that is a huge impact on one's journey. So how will releasing that then be able to really assist their health and fertility? So you said with journaling, are there any other techniques that they could sort of touch upon? Anything in NLP that they could do that's really effective in shifting a lot of that shame? Because there's a shame around, I can't have a child, my body is, I hear a lot that, my body is failing, I'm going to need IVF, and a lot of that sort of thought process.
Yeah, sure. With NLP, you can you do this with a coach essentially. So you can remove any sort of negative anchoring that are associated to past experiences that trigger these emotions. So, for example, any sort of shame that might be, or fear, and clearing these out through specific NLP techniques. You can also do what we call a change state, leading to a clip that is empowering, and doing that as a daily thing and creating a habit in that simply helps to reprogram that mind and also anchor in that sound. For example, if you use a certain song that increases, elevates one's state, that can also shift from fight and flight to more calm and help the body repair itself.
And so with a lot of the specific negative thought patterns, what is the particular common among, would you say that you've seen people going through health and hormonal challenges go through? What are some of the specific thought patterns?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of things like, I've people themselves, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to get better. So it's been usually, and it's been this constant long battle that they've been going through this particular problem, and they see me as a last resort. Giving them the hope and the faith to know that things can change, things can get better, and that the body is currently simply just trapped in survival mode at the present moment.
All right. So what are some of the simple NLP techniques or exercises? You mentioned the journaling. Any other exercises that people who are listening can do to manage the stress? Because there is so much stress, obviously, going through an infertility journey. And also any other things that they could do to manage the negative emotions during their health challenges or fertility journey.
Yeah, sure. So with stress, it's simply also recognizing it as a temporal signal that something needs to change, not at a pertinent state. So knowing that, firstly, that it's simply a sign from the unconscious mind going, hey, so you need to do something right now, otherwise this is not sustainable. And I think finding your own way of being able to relieve stress. And we hear this word self-care all the time. It's thrown out. However, I think for individuals, they need to find what it is for them that helps them recharge their batteries. It might simply be being around other family members that lift them up and really empower them. That's a recharge. An hour in nature, going for a hike or going for a swim at the beach. There's multiple different ways. It might simply be that, you have a bath, or for example, in couples, you know, to spend time with each other in terms of, massaging each other, or just touching and holding hands. That might be a way to be able to not only recharge but reconnect with each other as well, because we have to remember it's not just one person in the journey, there are two people. So we have to make sure things are done together and not just individually. Each of them, but also at the end of the day coming together and working as one unit. Also, future pacing is a great tool to be able to get individuals to see what might the picture look like in the future, and give them hope and faith that they can and have the ability to do this, but also with each other, with the partner as well. So doing future pacing together with the partner can definitely help with imagining what that desired outcome looks like, and that it's already happened. There's less negative emotions moving forward because they have that certainty and volition in them. And this might be a day-to-day thing moving forward, not just, say, for example, in the next 9 months, what does it look like?
Yeah.
So it's through the entire journey itself.
That is such a powerful process, even with my clients who do the future pacing. If they can see it as being already happened, they're already in the future, they've moved themselves, then your unconscious mind or your body is just moving towards that goal as quickly as it can. So it's so powerful. And like you said, it's doing it with absolute volition. It's sometimes very hard for these couples going through a lot of difficult health challenges for them to even imagine that. So what is some of the baby steps if they can't do imagining that, taking 10 steps forward? What can they do as a small step in between just to move the needle forward a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So I think first of all, it would be becoming more aware of what's happening with your own self. So self-awareness and what I call self-introspection. So having that conversation with yourself and understanding what it is that you're saying, and process emotions as well, to identify, oh, okay, I feel fear right now, but how is the person processing these emotions? Are they willing and openly having an honest conversation with their partner about how they're feeling, or are they simply just identifying it and then stuffing it down? So that would be the first port of call of being able to self-heal, and also then replacing this self-talk that they're saying themselves with more and more, I guess, abundant wording that brings the desired goal, and also getting them aligned where they're wanting to go. The other thing I forgot to mention was, so couples, when they go through fertility, they might have different values around parenting. They might have different values around family. They might have different values with what they want in their life, simple things like that. So sitting down with your partner and asking them what's most important to you about having a baby, and really getting to know the other person and how they process and perceive what their reality would be like when they have a child or going through the journey, and simply also changing to a different identity from being single or being, a couple to being a parent, because it's a shift in identity. So getting alignment within the couple, within the unit, makes a huge drastic change in terms of the success of the fertility journey.
Because values drive so much. So tell us a little bit more about values and how that impacts both in a personal life as well as in that couple. What are values? So for those that don't understand, what are values, and how do those values need to be aligned for the couple specifically?
What are values? Values are what we believe about ourselves. So one value is held by a cluster of different beliefs. And what happens is when we are, say, forward thinking, we see the value. So what's most important to me about having a child, it would be legacy, for example. For some people, it might, when they think of legacy, it might be that I don't want to leave them really poor growing up or having health problems. So there's a negative attachment to that particular value, whereas some individuals might say legacy because I want to be able to give them the best life they can have. So there's different perspectives on that one value, so the beliefs that attach to that. And with individuals, they might have the same belief, the same values, but what's attached to that value might be different. So being able to reframe how one perceives that value allows that person to become more forward-thinking and positively aligned to that value. And when we have the same values between a couple, we're able to get the couple in alignment and on the same path to the same goal and outcome to that journey.
That's really powerful. So many people don't even realize that their values are out of alignment, and that could be one of the reasons why they're struggling with, say, their fertility journey, as well as even values in health and in many aspects of our lives. Is that correct? Like, tell us about how values are impacting also not just health, but also if there's conflicting values in other parts, that can also be affecting their life in general.
Yeah, I think that values are very context specific. So whether it be in health, whether it be in fertility, there's still different contexts. You can have a subcontext within a context, for example, and being able to identify, I guess the blind spots for the individual allows them to be able to rewire that and change that. And someone might have, be a prime example of health, but being on this fertility journey where they're fit, they're healthy, they eat well, they train, they've got a corporate job, for example, which, creates a lot of stress, but they've been on this fertility journey for, say, 1 or 2 years that they're unable to fall pregnant. We have to also look at where they're not allowing their body to heal itself. So, for example, past traumas would affect that, which create the beliefs attached to those values. So it's one thing to understand values in the context of having a child, but also health as an overall, and what other contexts are related to that. So, for example, they may have been in past relationships where they were abused, created a trauma which has inhibited that particular, area to reproduce because they're still in that fight or flight mode during this journey.
So trauma is a huge impact to their fertility journey. And if they've gone through major trauma, what are some of the things that they can do to help release a lot of that trauma and how that's impacting their health journey now?
How they release it? Well, first of all, they probably wouldn't be able to because it's so deep seated. Most people are unconscious about what happens on a very unconscious level. You have to think of it like the iceberg, where there's only 10% showing on the surface, and there's 90% under that we're not aware of. As I mentioned earlier, 95% is run by the unconscious mind that is programmed. So we're not aware of what's happening 95% of the time. And the easiest way to be able to identify that is to simply get help.
Yeah.
So work with someone that's able to do that.
So trauma is a huge part. So if they've gone through trauma, the best advice is to seek help and work with that trauma so that that's no longer impacting what they're going through currently. Because a lot of it, like you said, is deeply unconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. Because otherwise what happens is they get stuck in these negative loops and they keep strengthening that wiring process rather than rewiring those thought patterns and that dialogue to more empowered patterns.
And lastly, let's talk a bit about obviously a lot of them are going through the fear and the doubts. And you touched on the values, but how would you address the deeper sort of fears and doubts that they have about becoming, I guess, family or being able to fall pregnant even? So a lot of it is fear based. What can you talk about in terms of fear and what a lot of these clients are going through?
Yeah, fear is usually it's the fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's the survival mode that's running, and that's what's preventing them from moving forward. And this is once again a connection between, there's a disconnect between the mind and the body. So being able to become self-aware of one's own body, and also what the mind is saying to the body that's programming that introspective question to do that. And you can do that through journaling to help uncover any hidden fears that may be not releasing, to be able to create space for trust for oneself, to go ahead on that journey, and also that faith that they can achieve that outcome.
Amazing. And lastly, would you say that there's first of all any advice that you would say for the listeners out there who are skeptical about that connection? Because you've talked about it a few times today between mindset, health, and fertility. So, what advice would you have for listeners who are basically skeptical about this body-mind connection?
Sure. So your body is the architect, and your mind is what can shift the blue. Okay, and the actions that the body will follow to create that, because it already has a blueprint. It just follows the mind. And if we just simply make small changes, like changing one thought pattern,
Yeah.
it can create life-changing results by simply those small things as increments.
So it's just having that awareness, being mindful of what you're saying, what your thoughts are, and then the body will follow because it all starts with the mind, right? So where that thought pattern goes, that's where you're creating a lot of the blocks in the body. So shifting that will help the body go out of fight or flight pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the body go out of fight or flight. So, what does a holistic approach to emotional, mental well-being look like for you? Because you're a naturopath and you do a lot of psychology and you've done all this work with NLP. To you, what does that holistic approach to health and wellness and having a good, healthy hormonal balance look like?
Sure. I think it's more about creating alignment with the inner world and the outer actions, and just simply creating a stage of wholeness by doing that. And when we integrate our thoughts and emotions, our body, physical body, and our spiritual body, it creates a unified intention for the body to be able to create the right support systems for procreation and generation, because there's balance with growth, with awareness, self-awareness, and also there's volition with decision making as well. That's another thing that keeps people stuck, is being unsure whether to move forward or to not. So they usually have one foot in, one foot out. So making a conscious decision and working with your partner to be able to create that vision that you both desire.
Amazing. So, is there one piece of advice you'd give to anyone who's listening who are struggling with infertility, health, and other hormonal challenges? What would be, some piece of advice that you'd give to the listeners?
I would say have faith, be kind to yourself, and know that what you perceive you will achieve. So if you do want to be able, or you simply want to be able to have a regular menstrual cycle, so with people with endometriosis, it's about becoming more self-aware in your body and with your mind, and being yourself.
Be kind
Yeah.
to yourself. I think we beat
Yeah.
ourselves up so much a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
it is very common for many people out there, something's not going their way, but that is great advice. Thank you, Maria, so much for your wisdom and all your shares and introducing people who don't know about NLP to NLP and the amazing wonders of our unconscious mind.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Maria. Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring or informative, please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It will help us reach more people just like you who are on their journey to vibrant health and balance. For more tips, resources, or to work with me, please visit my website or connect with me on socials. And remember, your health is your superpower. So keep nurturing it, and I'll see you next time.